championship battle is as spirited as the one between Earnhardt and Wallace. 2 races remain to settle the NASCAR Busch Series title. This man steps up to Winston Cup racing next year, and with 2 Busch Series wins this season, is hoping to add his first NASCAR championship to his resume. And this man, driving for car owner Bobby Labonte, has yet to visit Victory Lane in 1993. But his consistent top 5 finishes have left him in position to grab the Busch Series crown. And tonight, you get to meet Steve Grissom and David Green on This Week in NASCAR. And now, from the studios of WTVI-TV in Charlotte, North Carolina, here's the host of This Week in NASCAR, Eli Gold.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to This Week in NASCAR. Welcome to our Charlotte base here at WTVI Television. Tonight, the Busch Grand National Series of NASCAR is the subject matter. Steve Grissom, David Green taking your calls and comments tonight. And if you'd like to hop on board, the phones are open to you right now, toll-free, 1-800-292-5551. That's our number here in Charlotte tonight on This Week in NASCAR. As far as the news of this week is concerned, a very interesting week and a busy one for many of the NASCAR drivers. Earlier in the week, many of the Winston Cup fellows are out in Las Vegas, appearing at the largest automotive aftermarket convention at the Las Vegas Convention Center. Fellows making appearances on behalf of their primary or their associate sponsors. Others went to the Atlanta Motor Speedway for testing sessions. They've put a sealer on the racetrack there, and the track surface just a little bit touchy here in the early stages of the week. We'll talk about that as the evening continues. Brett Bodine is feeling good tonight. He's had that cast removed, that contraption, if you will, that has helped heal his wrist that was injured at Dover a few weeks ago. He had that piece of mechanism removed today. And some good news for Rodney Combs this day as well. It's been announced that he'll be a driver for the Richard Petty Busch Series team. We got a call a short while ago from Bob Friedman at the Hickory Motor Speedway. Told us that the car was going to be there this weekend on display for the fans to see in conjunction with the Pantry 300, the Busch Series race there on Sunday. So that's the news of this day. Now to our special guests of this evening, a couple of men who all season long have been swapping the Busch Series championship hopes back and forth. One week, it's car number 31, Steve Grissom leading. The next week, it was car number 44 for David Green. Channel lock one week, Slim Jim the next. Right now, it's Steve Grissom on top of the heap. Nice to see you fellas both here this evening. Thanks for coming by, and you've had a heck of a season. Good run for you.
Yeah, we sure have. I tell you, these guys on the team, they've worked super hard, and you know, it's just been one of those deals. They've had the right attitude, and they've worked hard, and that's got us to this position. So we've got 2 more races to go here.
A classic example, certainly, David, of consistency is what pays off in NASCAR racing. A lot of top 5s, a ton of top 10s, and you're still in the hunt here with 2 races to go.
Yeah, it's true, Eli, and sure we'd like to have a couple wins like Steve does, but, you know, I've just tried to be consistent, and this team has been behind me all year long, so we've tried to do it, and it's been a tough deal for only my 2nd year, so I feel good to be sitting here with Steve and going for this championship.
Was the pressure mid-season difficult? I'm sure it was a lot of fun when you were in the hunt for the point championship, but as we said, one week you were leading, next week you were leading, the next week it was back to you. Was it difficult? Were you searching for that combination at that point of the year?
Well, I don't necessarily know that we were searching for a combination as much as, and when we started this year out, you know, championship wasn't on the top of the list. Our whole deal's been is to go to the racetrack, to win races, if not finish as high as we possibly can, and then be consistent in doing that. And if you can do that, you can't stop the points. So, you know, as far as, you know, a pressure-type situation for us, it hasn't been.
I think your story is a great one, Dave. Here you are a year ago, turning wrenches on a race car, and now you're driving it, battling for the title. Did you think you'd get a chance to get back into a race car after being ushered aside for a year?
Well, I didn't really know. Like Steve said, a championship thought that was the farthest thing from my mind. You know, a year ago, Bobby Labonte gave me a job, gave me a paycheck to start off with again, and you know, at that point, it kind of had mixed feelings. I didn't know if it would come about. I didn't know if it wouldn't, and I knew if it didn't come about, I learned a whole lot from Bob Sr., Terry, and Bobby. And I could take it and use it somewhere else. But the things came about, Slim Jim and Bobby Labonte Racing, for me to go into that car.
And by the way, congratulations. I understand a new 2-year deal is in place, announced this afternoon.
Right. We signed it a day or so ago, and it was announced today that 2-year deal with Bobby Labonte Racing and Slim Jim, and looks like I'll get to drive for 2 more years at least.
David Green, one of our guests. Steve Grissom to my immediate right. He's stepping up to Winston Cup Racing next year. We'll talk all about that and your phone calls as well. 1-800-292-5551. That's the number. We're coming right back to your thoughts right after this.
This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by the Heartbeat of America Chevrolet and your local Chevy dealer. Smooth Busch Beer and easy drinking Busch Light. And by Kendall Motor Oil. Pour in the protection.
Sure, you've got a car, got a dog, even got some fun-loving friends. But have you got what it takes to be a mountain man? All it really takes are the 2 cool beers of the mountain man. Smooth Busch Beer and easy drinking Busch Light. So, be a mountain man. All you gotta do is head for the mountains.
Oh, hey there, Grandpa. How's the old truck running?
Never been better. Oh, I brought your graduation present by. Well, it's been in the family a long time.
Kendall Motor Oil. It's good
Yep.
stuff. Thanks, Gramps. I'm not quite sure what to say.
Well, that and this old truck kind of go together. It's yours, as long as you take care of it.
Look for the newest members of the Kendall NASCAR racing team, Kyle Petty and Kenny Wallace.
You add a tip when you pay your taxes, use lots of stamps when you only need one? Well, your brand is probably on this table, next to mine. Both brands protect to 84 below zero. Boil-over protection? Identical. And both protect all metals. There is one important difference. Either this one costs about $1 more, or this one costs about $1 less. Peak. Maximum everything except the price.
The Milwaukee Mile at the fairgrounds in West Allis, Wisconsin. That's where the Busch Series ran the Haviland 250 earlier this year. And one Steve Grissom ends up in Victory Lane. And that was a tough day. Tires were the story, and you called on the old Alabama connection to help you out that way.
Yeah, we sure did. I tell you, Red Farmer, he come through for us. It was a deal of every time the yellow waved, you needed tires, and we'd come up short there at the end, and Red had some left over, so we were able to talk him out on them, and you know, in the end, that's what caused us to win the race.
Welcome back to This Week in NASCAR. Steve Grissom currently leading the NASCAR Busch Series point standings. He, along with David Green, joining us on the show tonight. Let's get to the phones. A lot of you folks have been patiently waiting. Brian is first in Rome, Georgia, watching on Sports South tonight. Hello.
Hello, Eli.
Good evening.
Enjoy your show.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to say good luck to Steve and David for their championship race.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
My question is, basically, anybody can answer it, either one of you, about the aerodynamics of the car. NASCAR changed the rule from taking air in from the side windows of the car and run it to the car and let it go out the bottom. Why doesn't NASCAR change it to taking the air in from the bottom of the car, but instead of letting out the side windows, let it out the rear window to where it hits the spoiler and give the car more stability?
Well, I know that every NASCAR has tried all sorts of different ideas. They've done extensive testing in Winston Cup, Busch Series as well. They have analyzed through computers and in wind tunnels all of the different options and continue to do so. But right now they have settled on what they feel is the best procedure, best process, if you will, to keep the cars as firmly affixed to the racetrack as they can be. Is the Busch Series car affected aerodynamically? Do you guys have the same headaches, if you will, that the Winston Cup fellas have in trying to adjust to rule changes and so on?
Yeah, no question. It's the same deal. We don't run quite as fast down the straightaway, but yet through the corner the Busch cars run a little quicker, and it's something that we're trying to tweak and find what we can. But the deal that they done here at Charlotte this last race actually probably helped the Busch cars more than it hurt them.
Do you feel that you're going to miss the element of working on a race car next year? You know, in Winston Cup, the driver doesn't work on his car as much as you do this year, or certainly David, do you enjoy that, David? Is that something that you really like, that grassroots involvement?
Well, yeah, that's true. That way I think I keep a better relationship with the guys that work on the car each week. They're the first, if I ding up a fender or tear something off, they're the first to get on to me. But yeah, I do, and but I know, like in Steve's case, going to Winston Cup, there's not enough time to do all that. You know, he's sponsor commitments, but I do enjoy working.
Have you talked about it with Gary and all those fellows? They're going to let you do a little work on the car?
I don't know. I think they want to keep me run out of the shop. But no, it's something that, you know, it's new to me, and it's new to these guys, and, you know, it's something we got to work together on. If it means being there in the shop working, I'll be glad to.
Sure.
But, whatever it takes to make it work.
Let's go out to Fresno, California for our next call. Bill, watching on Prime Ticket. Hello.
How you doing, Eli?
Great, thank you.
My question is, do you think the competition next year will be better as the rookie contenders than it will be this year?
Well, I think it will be certainly very spirited to say whether it's going to be any better or any worse. This year, Jeff Gordon got out to a quick start. Bobby Labonte has come on in the second half of the season, had some awfully good runs. Kenny Wallace has still been kind of feeling his way. But next year, Steve Grissom, there's yourself, there's John Andretti, potentially Joe Nemechek, a host of others. Ward Burton steps up. You're going to have yourself a handful in the battle for Rookie of the Year. Yeah, it's true. I mean, it'd be basically, again, like this year, so to speak, that Kenny, Bobby, and Jeff run together in the Busch Series, and then, you know, with myself, Ward, it's Joe, possibly Robert Presley, you know. Right. We've all run together, so we basically know each other and how they act, so, you know, it's going to definitely be some new racetracks for you guys, though, next year. Yeah, it is. There's a few that the Busch Series hadn't been at, but then, for the most part, the Busch Series has run on most of the tracks the Cup cars have. Right. Of course, you've got Indianapolis Motor Speedway next year. You've got Sears Point. You've got Pocono. David, any chance for a Winston Cup step in the future? We just talked about a new 2-year deal with Slim Jim, but looking ahead, obviously it's a goal. Do you have a timetable? No, not really. Again, a year ago, I just wanted to get behind the wheel, you know. But right now, the Busch Series is where I belong, especially for 2 more years. And once I can get real comfortable at every racetrack and be a contender, then I might think about Winston Cup. But sure, it's in the back of my mind, but I'm happy right where I'm at. Steve Grissom and David Green, our special guests this evening. We're talking about the chase for the NASCAR Busch Series Championship. 2 races remain this weekend at the Hickory Motor Speedway, then next Saturday at the Atlanta Motor Speedway to settle it all. We'll continue our conversation and take more of your calls. As we leave you right now, we'll take a look at the Winston Cup point standings, positions 1 through 10, heading into the season's finale, the Hooters 500 in Atlanta. And a bit later on in the show, we'll take a closer look at the Busch Series point standings. We're coming right back. Don't leave us now.
Travel the world to keep up with the best in tennis on the ATP Tour magazine. Tomorrow night at 7 on NESN. Your ticket to the widest variety of sport.
The nation's top teams play on prime turf. Bobby Bowden has the Knolls on track with Heisman hopeful Charlie Ward leading the Seminole Assault on the national championship.
Saturday at noon, live on NESN. Your ticket to the best in college football.
Under the lights, Raceway Park, Indianapolis, Indiana. A good three-way battle. Tracy Leslie ahead of David Green and Ward Burton battling for the win in the Kroger 200. That was a heck of a run for you there. You almost pulled her off.
Well, it was a tough night. You know, I had a big accident there with a few laps to go, but Slim Jim Chevrolet ran good all night, and Tracy, you know, he was good there in previous years, but that's a neat little racetrack.
It really is, and the groove, as you can see, is up near the outside wall, something a little bit different for the Busch Series drivers. We're with Steve Grissom and David Green tonight. You talk about a big accident at Raceway Park. Have your bones stopped shaking yet from the lick you took that night?
Yeah, pretty much. It was a tough deal for us, but I tell you, that's Busch Series racing right there.
It's exciting, no doubt about that. Let's go to Clemens, New York for our next question. Scott joining us on the Madison Square Garden Network. Hello.
Oh, Eli, how are you tonight?
Great, thank you, sir.
A great show.
Thanks.
I'd like to, well, you took both of my questions, so I'd like to congratulate Steve and David on a great year, and I was wondering what make of car Steve would be driving next year and what his sponsor would be.
Okay, for next year we're going to be running the Luminous, and as of right now, we don't have a sponsor nailed down yet.
Tell us a bit about the new team. Who are the principals in the Winston Cup operation?
Well, it's Carolyn and Gary Bechtel out of California, and Eddie Jones is the team manager, Mark Reno's crew chief, and you know, I think the way Gary and Carolyn have approached this deal, they've gone with Hendricks Motors and they get some new cars, and it's just a matter of, again, they've got the right ingredients.
Right.
It's just making it work from here.
Let's go to Darrell. He's in Clinton, Oklahoma, joining us tonight. Hello.
Yeah, I have two comments.
Yes, sir.
First, Steve, I can't wait to see you win the championship, and then watch Dale win the Winston Cup, of course. And second, Mr. Gold, Richard Petty may be the king of racing, but you, sir, are the king of race broadcasting.
Well, that's very kind of you. It's always nice when your brother calls into the show, isn't it? I appreciate that, sir. Thank you. You're very kind. You know, you guys have a very unique situation working with family operations. Direct family in your instance, and the Labonte family for you. Is that been a help? Was it difficult to step in as the so-called outsider, if you will, in and around Bobby and Bob Labonte and Terry when he comes around? Was it tough fitting in for you?
No, not really, because they made it easy. But that was the part that really amazed me, that they were dedicated enough to put somebody outside that family in their race car. You know, Terry or Bobby, either one could have drove this car in a few races here and there, but it just shows you their dedication to winning and racing in general, and you know, and Slim Jim's involvement. You know, Bobby stepped out of that car, and they put me in there, and they never hesitated a bit, and this crew. But you know, it's all a class act, and Bob Sr.'s there to help me every day when he's got all his other things to do, and Terry also.
Any disappointment that your big step to Winston Cup, Steve, doesn't come in the family operation?
Well, not really. I mean, you know, it's maybe something that you'd like to do it, but again, this opportunity came along. It's something that Steve Grissom felt he needed to do. But in our situation, we're going to keep the Busch team going. Chandlock's going to remain a sponsor, and Tom Peck's going to drive the car, so we're looking forward to 94 also. He's a very talented driver from McConnellsburg, Pennsylvania, Tom Peck is. Let's go now to Parkersburg, West Virginia, or rather Petersburg, West Virginia. Buddy, good evening to you, sir.
Yes, sir. First thing I'd like to say is congratulations, Dave and Steve. And my question to you, Eli.
Yes, sir.
Is it true that next year Bill Elliott is going to form his own team, have a part-time driver until the next year after his things up with Junior, and then drive himself? We heard that in Phoenix.
There have certainly been a lot of rumors going around as to exactly what the future of Bill Elliott with Junior Johnson is going to be. There have been published reports and broadcast reports that seem to indicate that come 1995, not this next year, but 1995, Bill might strike out on his own at that point and form his own team and go in his own direction. And all of the talk seems to revolve around 1995 of a somewhat concrete nature. The rumor mill has said this might happen for 1994, but comments on this show from Junior and other broadcasts and trade papers and so on seems to feel that that might be a 1995 move that would leave Jimmy Spencer as the single driver for the team at that point. Let's go down to the state of Florida now for our next call. A viewer on the Sunshine Network. Bob is in Newport Richey, Florida. Hello.
Hello, Eli.
Good evening, sir.
Congratulations on a terrific show. I really love it. It's very informative for people that are just getting into the NASCAR sport.
Well, we appreciate that, and good to have you in the fold. What can we do for you tonight?
All right, Eli, I have a question for you.
All right.
3 or 4 years ago, I was hearing a lot about front steer and rear steer race cars, and I was wondering if the drivers are going more to the front steer cars as opposed to rear steer, or if more and more of the drivers are switching over to power steering.
Well, my car has neither front steer or rear steer. I don't have a car. But let me ask the fellows who do drive for a living, what was the big difference, one versus the other, and does everybody have power steering in their race cars?
Well, power steering, yes. I know since I've been involved in the Busch Series, it's all been front steer. Maybe when Steve was getting into it, there might have been some rear steer, but everything's front steer and power steering.
That was a move, actually, with the power steering that Jeff Bodine, I believe, first brought to the sport from his modified days up in the Northeast and helped popularize in Winston Cup racing. Good question, and thanks for your call. We're going to come right back here in just a moment, but we do want to take a second to remind you about our next couple of shows and our final 2 shows of this 4th year of This Week in NASCAR. Next Thursday night will be at the Grand Ballroom of the Airport Hilton Hotel in Atlanta, and then in 2 weeks, that show, This Week in NASCAR's season finale. But next week, we'll be with you from the Atlanta, Georgia Airport Hilton, a special announcement involving Cale Yarborough Motorsports and a couple of special guests to boot. So that's coming up next Thursday, but right now, here's a look at positions 11 through 20 in the NASCAR Winston Cup point standings. Then more of your calls for Steve and David. We'll be right back.
One place to feel the power of Roger Clemens, and it's not Fenway Park. Now you can catch Roger Clemens and a whole lot more at the Sports Museum of New England. Relive the greatest moments in our sports history and discover hometown heroes of the past, present, and future. Visit the Sports Museum of New England at the Cambridge Side Galleria and feel the heat.
We have been talking so much about Steve stepping up to the Winston Cup. There's the Diamond Ridge Racing look for Steve Grissom as we dig some of the video out of the archives of this past week. Steve Grissom and David Green, our special guests this evening on This Week in NASCAR. Let's get right back to the phone lines at 1-800-292-5551. Bo in Dallas, Texas, watching on HSE tonight. Hello, Bo.
How are you doing, Eli?
Great, thank you.
I have a question for Steve and David both.
Sure.
As far as driver standpoint, if you had one driver that you had to sit at home and watch on the TV on Sunday, who is your favorite driver? A driver that you would look up to or go to for advice, or just an overall favorite driver?
David, let's start with you. Do you have one now, or even somebody when you were growing up, somebody you said, I want to be like that fella?
Well, growing up and even up to the last couple of years, Mike Alexander was the guy that really gave me a break in the Busch Series, and somebody I looked up to driving. But, you know, nowadays on Sunday afternoons, everybody's got like Dale Earnhardt, you know. When you flip on the TV, you got to watch and love his style of driving. So, but Mike Alexander was the guy that really gave me a big break, and I wanted to pattern myself after him.
Interesting answer. And growing up in Gadsden, Alabama, was it automatically an Alabama gang member for you, Steve, or somebody else?
Yeah, pretty much. Going to BIR, I mean, it had to be Red Farmer.
That's Birmingham International Raceway,
exactly.
for the folks that don't know.
But, you know, from watching Red drive, I mean, he can get more out of any car than any driver I know. And, you know, it's somebody I've always wanted to be like.
Whenever any guy goes to Birmingham International Raceway and they'd say, how do you get around this racetrack? They'd say, turn left to the end of the straightaways and don't try and pass Red on the outside.
Exactly.
That's the truth. You end up in the parking lot sometimes. Let's go to the state of Pennsylvania for our next call. Jared in Harrisburg, PA, watching on the KBL Sports Network. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
It seems to me when the Cup drivers step back and run the Busch Series that they seem to adapt better to the cars than when the Busch drivers step up. What's the difference that seems...
Have you found a major adjustment? You've run now 2 Winston Cup races, Atlanta a couple years back and this past week at Phoenix. The extra 300 pounds, is that a big handful?
Well, it is, and not only that, the extra horsepower, speed down the straightaway, the momentum that you carry into the corner, you know, there's quite a bit of an adjustment there.
Has Bobby Labonte shared any of those thoughts with you? Is he finding the same thing stepping up this year?
Well, basically the same thing Steve said, and you know, his feeling is when you come back to run the Busch Series, you know, you're used to a lot more power with the Winston Cup car, and you come down to the Busch car, and it's like, where's all my power? So I got to watch out for Steve this weekend because he ran Phoenix with all that power, and he's going to be a handful this week.
Let's go out to Salt Lake City, Utah for our next question on Prime Sports Rocky Mount. Scott, good evening.
Good evening. Eli, first I'd like to say it's a wonderful show. I enjoy watching it.
Thank you, sir.
Steve and David, heck of a season. Really been great.
Thank you.
Steve, I'd like to know, in your move to Winston Cup, do you feel that as a rookie that the veteran drivers are going to be very intimidating to you?
Even though you've run against most of these guys, is it a different playing surface?
Well, no question, it's different. You're going into another man's backyard, so to speak. But, you know, again, as you say, fortunately, being able to run the Busch Series and all, we've got to run with Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt, all these guys, and they sort of know what you're about, and you know what they're about. So, yeah, I think that's got to be an advantage versus just going right straight to Winston Cup and never being around these guys.
Have you ever seen a kind of year like Mark Martin's had in Busch Series, stepping up? Anything he finishes, he wins.
That's true. He's been off tough. But I think that reflects on like what we're talking about. You know, Mark is good on Sunday. Then when he comes to run the Busch race, you know, it's kind of like a little hobby, a little part-time job for him, and he excels at that.
Interestingly, though, that even with his great record of success, Mark hasn't run as many races as, for instance, Terry Labonte has. Terry's in the top 20 in Busch points. Mark Martin is not. Mark's only run a handful of races in relation to all the others. Take a look at some of the Busch Series point standings. We've got numbers 1 through 10 coming your way on this break, and then more of your calls. Steve Grissom and David Green, the guests tonight on This Week in NASCAR. We'll be right back.
Corvette back by Eureka for home or auto. 10 tools included. Power for big jobs, tight spots, extra long cord. Corvette back by Eureka.
Williams Electric Shave.
Easy shaver, Williams Electric Shave.
From J.B. Williams.
For the car you drive, for the way you drive. Slick 50 high performance engine formula.
Splitfire earned a United States patent. Splitfire doesn't look like any other spark plug. And the patented Splitfire doesn't work like any other spark plug.
5 extra horsepower by merely installing these plugs. Quicker in the quarter mile. A 4.8% gain in mileage.
There's nothing like a Splitfire. You'll get more power and more mileage, or your money back.
Get guaranteed Splitfire benefits for all gasoline engines at leading automotive stores nationwide.
I'll never forget my first oil change.
For more than 5 generations, people have trusted Kendall Motor Oil to protect their engines. Today's Kendall protects better than ever.
Car is a pretty big responsibility.
Yeah?
And this is the key.
Hey, Charlene.
Did you put the drain plug back in, son?
That day, I learned something about motors and motor oil.
What's that look like?
And to be sure to put the drain plug back.
Look for the newest members of the Kendall NASCAR racing team, Kyle Petty and Kenny Wallace.
Back on This Week in NASCAR, that's Bobby Labonte on the right of the screen, David Green, a little concerned about something there on the left of the screen. How did you and Bobby get together? Where did this relationship first start?
Probably 4 or 5 years ago. I raced some All-American Challenge Series races with him, and then at probably Myrtle Beach, one of my first Busch races, probably in 1989-90. We were there and failed to make the race, and Bobby got to looking at one of the cars we were there with, and called me back at Wayne Days there in Nashville and ordered a couple. So I became a kind of a car builder, so to speak, with him, and then it led from that to being a competitor with him in 1991, then working for him in 1992, and now driving. So it's been a pretty good relationship.
A heck of a deal. Sure has. Let's get back to the phones with questions for Steve Grissom and David Green. David in Salem, Indiana. Welcome to the show.
Hi, fellas.
Good evening.
I'd like to ask Steve and David how long each one of them's been in racing. And
okay.
Eli.
Yes, sir.
Do you know how very much longer it might be before Salem Superspeedway might play host to any NASCAR event?
I've not heard of that track being on the prospective list. Certainly it's a fine, high-banked racetrack, very much like Bristol Raceway in Tennessee, but I've really not heard any talk of Salem getting on to the schedule here in the next while, but you never know how things could change. When did this business all start for you? When did you first climb into a race car?
Climbed in when I was 15 years old, and it's my 14th year of driving, 6th year in the Busch Series. So before that, my brother drove, and being around race cars and stuff, I guess that started about the age of 5 or 6, something like that.
When Philip was in the car, did you used to help him? Were you on the crew? Were you advising?
Yeah, he and my oldest brother, both of us, worked on the car, and then Philip drove it. But you know, before that, Daddy sponsored some cars and stuff around local, and worked on those cars, and going to the dirt tracks and stuff like that with those.
And you come from a racing family. Your brother Jeff also runs. When did you first start in this business?
Well, in stock car racing, probably right around 1980. So I was a little later than Steve was. But I've got another brother, Mark. So we all raced up Kentucky Motor Speedway, and then went to Nashville for a few years, and then here we are now. But I grew up, my dad drag raced, so I was around racing in some sort my whole life.
No question, this is the direction you were going. Let's head down to Pensacola, Florida now on the Sunshine Network. Robert watching tonight. Hello.
Hey, hi, Eli. Great show.
Thanks, Robert.
My question is for Steve. First of all, does your brother Philip still drive? And are you considering maybe coming down here to Pensacola to run snowball anytime soon?
Well, no, my brother, he doesn't drive anymore. He's pretty much hung his hat up for right now, so to speak. But
he's selling cars instead of driving them.
I hope so. As far as the snowball derby, it's something, you know, I'd like to do, but right now I don't have a car or anything put together to do that.
That's the first Sunday of December, that gathering down at Five Flags Speedway in Pensacola. It's one of the great early winter gathering spots for everyone. Spending time with Steve Grissom and David Green tonight, taking your calls at 1-800-292-5551. Let's talk about pressure now going down the stretch. Do you guys, forgetting even pressure, that's not the right word, are you preparing the cars any differently now? Is the preparation for Hickory this week different from the same car's preparation back in April for both of you fellas?
Not for us. I tell you, we're approaching this deal just like it's Daytona back in February, and there's no sense changing what's got us in this position. And you know, you kind of get in those deals where you start checking, rechecking,
over-engineering.
Exactly, and before you know it, something like that winds up biting.
How about you guys? You quadruple checking something that you were double checking in the first of the year?
No, it's the same, Eli. You know, the only difference is probably now we're both sitting here thinking about points a little more. I know I made the comment a couple weeks ago. It sure was a lot easier going to Hickory back in April or March than it's going to be now. But, you know, no different. That the team does a good job every week, and there's no difference for now versus the spring.
Raymond, New Hampshire is the home to our next caller. Chris, watching on the New England Sports Network.
Good evening, Eli.
Good evening, sir.
I just wanted to compliment you, first of all, on your awesome show you did last July for Davey Allison.
Well, thank you.
I had the pleasure of watching him race his last race here in Loudon.
Right.
And I wanted to ask David and Steve how they liked racing at Loudon.
That's a heck of a racetrack, isn't it?
I love it. You know, wish we might get to go there twice next year. I don't know. That's kind of the rumor, but I've only raced there 3 times now, and I've enjoyed every trip. And it's a beautiful country up in there, and some of my crew members, you know, from up in that area, so we always enjoy going back there and seeing their families, and it's a beautiful place.
Is it tough on the car? Is it just a big Martinsville, or is that an incorrect comparison?
Well, pretty much it's along the same lines, long straightaways and fairly tight corners, but you know, the facility, I mean, there's none better really as far as bush racing is concerned. I mean, that's got to be the best, and it's something the Busch Series always looks forward to. It pays a lot of money, nice facility, and a super racetrack.
Can't beat that. We're spending time tonight with the 2 fellows battling for the NASCAR Busch Series Championship, Steve Grissom and David Green. Now, as we break away, let's take a look at the others who are in the Busch standings. Positions 11 through 20 coming your way, then more phone calls. We'll be right back.
How to identify the mountain man. Should be easy. I mean, doesn't a mountain man only live in really cold climates? Always go to bed when the sun sets? Wear a cowboy hat at all times? Actually, the easiest way to identify a mountain man is by his beer. Smooth Busch beer, or easy drinking Busch Light, the 2 cool beers of the mountain man. So, be a mountain man. All you gotta do is head for the mountains.
My truck has 99,000 miles on it, and it's like a brand new engine.
America is talking about split fire.
I feel like I have a new engine.
No hesitation. You hit your passing gear, you're gone. Right now.
Split fire won a United States patent. It doesn't look like any other spark plug. It doesn't work like any other spark plug.
I love them.
I have them on my motorcycle, my boat, and my car.
Love them. Love them.
Split fire. At $5.99, America knows it only costs more till you use it.
I can say I've saved at least $3 to $4 a week.
I use lower octane now. It seems like it runs like I had the premium in there.
I'm probably getting, I would say about 20 miles more per tank full, and that's a lot for me.
They'll pay for themselves, basically, in the first 6 months you own them.
Split fire. It only costs more till you use it. Get guaranteed split fire benefits for all gasoline engines at leading automotive stores nationwide.
Do you add a tip when you pay your taxes? Use lots of stamps when you only need one? Well, your brand is probably on this table, next to mine. Both brands protect to 84 below zero. Boil-over protection? Identical. And both protect all metals. There is one important difference. Either this one costs about $1 more, or this one costs about $1 less. Peak. Maximum everything except the price.
From inside Mark Martin's Winn-Dixie Ford, we look ahead at Darlington to Steve Grissom and the channel lock machine directly ahead. Does the car really dance around quite as much as that video looks? Do all of us racing fans get a true idea when looking through these in-car cameras? Because you see the car just kind of bouncing around there. Is that the way it really works?
Pretty much at Darlington it is. I'll tell you, after a few laps on the tires, it really gets slick, and a lot of times you're just holding on pretty much.
Let's go to North Little Rock, Arkansas. Ginger joining us tonight with our question next. Good evening, Ginger.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
I was wondering on your shows, I've just recently been watching, and all the guests that you've had on your shows have been absolutely terrific. Wake up the next morning and I say, hey, I really like these guys. You could go to the Sonic parking lot and sit on the back of the pickup and talk to these guys all night long.
That's very true.
And I wondered from David, Steve, and you, are these guys really like that, or is this just a TV thing?
No, it's not just...
And also, I'd like to know, what does NASCAR stand for?
The National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing. That's what NASCAR stands for. That was the name given to it by Bill France Sr., the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing. This really is almost, in some regards, too good to be true. When you take a look, and we're not going to start naming names from other sports, but when you read in some of the stories about what goes on in baseball, football, basketball, hockey, you guys all appreciate where you've come from and what you've got. This isn't a show. Everybody's really this nice.
Yeah, pretty much. I tell you, it's just the deal that, like you say, you remember where you come from. It's the fans are what makes the deal possible, and you know, you owe something to them, and yet it makes you feel good that they're out there supporting you.
Does that feel funny to a kid from Owensboro growing up, and all of a sudden you're in the limelight, and folks want your autograph, and you are a star, you're a name to these folks at home? Does that ever sink in, even though you may not let it go to your head? Does that sink into you?
It doesn't really, I don't think, you know, because you're so involved in doing everything, but it sure feels good when somebody wants your autograph, because you kind of think, well, what have I done to deserve somebody wanting my autograph? But, you know, this is true, and, you know, just like Steve and I's rivalry all year long for the championship, and, you know, have a few races here and there, we kind of rub fenders and do this and that and other, but we've got to race each week and be here week in and week out. Even though he's going to Winston Cup, you know, we're still at the same racetrack. So, you know, you kind of cool off and you go on, but this is the way it really is.
That's something folks don't understand, too, and I'm surprised we've gone, what, 40 minutes into the show now, and nobody's called in about the little things that go on the racetrack. I mean, you guys are friends, you're good, solid competitors. You were a little short with each other at a race a few weeks ago at Martinsville, but, you know, now you're talking about it and you're moving on down the road. That's something you, again, don't seem to find in other sports. You've seen those grudges kind of hang on, not in NASCAR racing.
Yeah, it's true, and you know, it's just a thing that if you race, you're going to get into people, people's going to get into you, and you know, if you hold a grudge against everybody that touches you or gets into you or something like that, I mean, man, you'll be mad all the time, so it's just something that you kind of have to let roll off your back and go on to next week.
One of those racetracks where you do have a little bumping and going is the Hickory Motor Speedway. It's a little bull ring in Hickory, North Carolina. That's where the Pantry 300 is being run this weekend. Take a look at some of the facts and figures pertaining to the event, and we're coming right back with more of your calls. Stay tuned.
As the temperature dips, hockey action heats up on NESN. This November, get ready for the Bruins to take on some of the NHL's hottest stars on the rise, including the Calgary Flames' Joe Nieuwendyk and the Philadelphia Flyers' Eric Lindros. Be sure to catch the Florida Panthers when they make their first ever visit to the Garden. But the hockey doesn't end in Boston. Catch the Baby Bees in Providence as they face off with the Fredericton Canadiens in AHL action. And tune to NESN for our 10th year of Hockey East coverage with collegiate powers like BC, Lowell, Providence, BU, and the defending national champion Maine Black Bears. Don't forget football action on the home front with Eagles 93, with all the facts and figures as BC does battle with Virginia Tech, West Virginia, Pittsburgh, and Notre Dame. And we'll serve up the best in women's tennis with a week of live coverage from the Virginia Slims of New York. All this and more on NESN, your ticket to the best in sports.
The world's finest teams roll across the nation, competing in different cities, hoping to take it to Reno for the Grand Championship, the ABC World Team Bowling Challenge.
Tomorrow night at 7:30 on NESN, your ticket to the widest variety of...
Looking back on the season of successes, a very good run at Rockingham earlier this year for the Slim Jim machine, moving to the inside of Harry Gant, driving the number 7 car. As we welcome you back to This Week in NASCAR, the 44 piloted by David Green. Car number 31, the China Lock car, piloted here in 1993 by Steve Grissom, our special guest on the show tonight, as we get back to the phones and go to Atlanta, Georgia. A viewer on Sports South. Hello, Dave. Good evening.
How you doing?
Good, thank you.
I got a couple questions. First one is, why is it that some of the Cup drivers only driving some of the Busch Series races? And to Dave and Steve, do you feel pressured when, like, Earnhardt gets racing with you?
Okay, first off, as far as the schedule, it's really a basics of geography, if nothing else. Being in Pocono on a Saturday after second-round qualifying or the final practice and having to fly to Orange County Speedway in North Carolina, race there, then fly back to Pocono or Sears Point, back to the East Coast, so on and so forth, it just gets to be a bit much. So when the Busch Series does run the events in conjunction with Winston Cup or on a standalone weekend, an Indianapolis Raceway Park Milwaukee the day after the race at Daytona. That allows the Winston Cup fellows to get there and participate anywhere from 15 to 18 to Terry Labonte's case, 20 races before this season wraps up. Are you guys aware of who you're piling off into a corner with at this stage of your career? Does it matter if it's Dale Earnhardt or Ed Faree? No disrespect meant to Ed, because he's run well. Do you care, or do you know who's alongside of you, or do you just run your race?
I think you know who's there, you know, but people like Dale Earnhardt, Mark Martin, Harry Gant, Terry Labonte, those guys are the best there is, so, you know, you feel more comfortable going down there with people like that than maybe, say, a newcomer that you're not aware of. And, you know, to me, my greatest satisfaction has been Bristol in 1991. I was second to Bobby Labonte, but Dale Earnhardt was third, so, you know, I raced him all day long, and that was a pleasure to beat him.
I was interested in Jeff Gordon's answer. He said to us on this show earlier, he said, I got to Daytona this year, Winston Cup car, and he says, and I've ridden everywhere. I've driven dirt on asphalt, stock cars, sprints, you name it, big races. He said, but when they were saying, gentlemen, start your engines for the Daytona 500, you got 150,000 people, whatever, in the grandstand, he said, man, he said, the hair was just standing up on my arm. He said, this is the big time. Do you expect you're going to feel some of that next year?
Well, I'm sure you will. You know, again, we've raced with a lot of these guys in the Busch Series, but as you say, like Jeff said, you know, hey, this is, you know, all of a sudden,
this is the show.
This is what you work for, and, you know, where you want to be. This past Sunday, you know, I was kind of pinching myself there to make sure I wasn't dreaming when it said, gentlemen, start your engine.
And there you were in the Winston Cup garage in Phoenix. Let's go to Springfield, Missouri. Gary, welcome to This Week in NASCAR.
Thank you. Hi, gentlemen. I'll tell you what, Eli kind of got into my question there. I was going to ask if you guys are kind of intimidated whenever you get with Earnhardt and Martin and some of those guys and Irvin, whenever they race with you guys.
You don't change your driving style, though, do you? Whoever's there is, you know, he's got to, if you got the better car, you're coming through.
That's true. I mean, it's kind of a deal that you don't pay attention to what number's on the door, or, you know, it's what color the car is. You got to race them all, and that's one thing about the Busch Series. It doesn't matter if you're running 5th or 25th or what. You have to run as hard as you possibly can to run whatever position you're running in.
Is that still true at this stage of the season? We talked about car preparation, April versus November, but you're going to as they say in Alabama, a booger-bear of a racetrack come this weekend going to Hickory. I mean, here's a racetrack that can grab you in a heartbeat and then some. Do you put the car in a spot in April that you may not do this weekend?
Well, you know, I don't know. Again, I think it's the way you approach the thing, and we've gone to every race this year to try to win. And if not win, finish as high as we can.
Mm-hmm.
And it still goes back to the same as the preparation of the car. You know, it's the way you're going to drive the race. Let's go there to win. If you win, nobody can get any more points than you can get. So that's the thing that you go there for. And I don't think our preparation or our driving styles changed any.
Wichita Falls, Texas is next. Dwayne, watching on the HSE network. Hello.
Hi, Eli. I don't really have any questions for you guys, but I'd like to say that I got to see my first Winston Cup at Phoenix Sunday, and that was pretty far out. I'd sure like to see you guys come to Texas World Speedway.
Well, you can never tell. It's a nice 2-mile racetrack, a carbon copy of Michigan, where the Winston Cup ran for a number of years. And who knows, we might see Texas World back on the schedule here in another number of years. Winston West and ARCA have run events there of late, so you never know what the schedule makers will bring out in the future. Quick reminder, next couple of shows on This Week in NASCAR will wrap up our 4th year of this program. And yes, the good news is we're coming back for year number 5, we are told by the producer on high. So that's the good news. Next Thursday, Atlanta Airport Hilton in Atlanta, Georgia. A special announcement from Cale Yarborough Motorsports and a couple of special guests all coming up next Thursday. Then November the 18th, their season finale as we look back on this 1993 season of This Week in NASCAR. As we leave you now, here's a look at the broadcast schedule for this weekend's activities at Hickory. Check it out. We're coming right back.
one place to feel the power of Roger Clemens. And it's not Fenway Park. Now you can catch Roger Clemens and a whole lot more at the Sports Museum of New England. Relive the greatest moments in our sports history and discover hometown heroes of the past, present, and future. Visit the Sports Museum of New England at the Cambridge Side Galleria and feel the heat.
Ricky Craven right on your rear deck that time around. Is it just inevitable that you're going to end up beating and banging and bouncing and doing? Is there any way to get around that racetrack unscathed in the course of a day?
No, I don't think so. It's one of those deals. It's just close, hard racing, and you know, a lot of times the fastest car is not always the car that wins the race. It's who's got something left to race with there toward the end. So
how do you know how much you can lean on a guy and how much you can expect to be leaned on? Is that just seat of the pants?
Well, I believe so. You know, again, you're running there at Hickory, and when you're out there by yourself, you use up all the racetracks, so you get to wondering, well, how are we going to get 28 other cars, 29 other cars out here? But somehow or another they fit. But it's a seat of the pants deal, and now it's 300 laps, so that adds a little more to it, and you just got to take care of your equipment, because you can be fast for the first 100, but if you're not there, you're not going to win.
That's true. Let's go to Harrisburg, Illinois. Mike, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, Eli, good, nice show there.
Thank you, sir.
What I was wanting to ask him, this time of the year when the sun gets low before a race is over and the oil and the sand gets to the windshield, why couldn't they devise some method like a Lexan overlay for the bigger part of the windshield, like a tear-off, like for a face shield?
Well, it's certainly a thought. I don't know. Jockeys use it in horse racing. They'll go down the back stretch and start ripping off the clear visors because of the mud. I don't know if that would work in NASCAR racing.
Probably wouldn't, but the Lexan windshields now are so good that, you know, they don't get pitted up like the old style used to. But, you know, at Hickory, it's not going to be that bad. I know at Rockingham and a place like that, the sand tears them up. But that's kind of a good idea, but I don't believe it would work.
Everybody got a break this year, too, with Rockingham staying where it is, but the clock's changing only this past weekend. The sun wasn't quite in as bad a spot as it normally is. Let's go out to Kent, Washington. Dick on Prime Sports Northwest. Hello.
Hello. Great show, Eli. I watch it every week.
Thank you, sir.
A couple of questions. One for David Green. What's Slim Jim? And the second question is, are you guys having the same changes to your cars that the Cup cars are at Charlotte?
Okay, first question, something we take for granted around the Southland. What is Slim Jim?
Well, it's a meat snack. There's different forms of it. I think out west they have a lot of the beef jerky and stuff like that, but it's a meat snack, and Good Marks Foods is the parent company, and they have a lot of meat snacks and stuff like that to choose from. But out here we take it for granted, so we're awful thankful for them people to sponsor us.
And of course, Channel Lock, the makers of fine tools that are seen all across and used all across the country. Aerodynamics and all the changes that the Winston Cup fellows have gone through, have the rules mandated changes for the Busch cars as well, particularly, he said, Charlotte and Atlanta coming up?
Yes, it has. You know, our air dam was 4 inches on the front. Now it's 5 inches. But like the deal with Charlotte back in the spring, and also at Atlanta when we qualified back in the spring, the Busch cars only had a 5-inch rear spoiler. It wasn't up until Talladega in July that we went to the 6-inch spoiler. So when we come back to Charlotte and now going back to Atlanta, we run a 1/2-inch or 5.5-inch spoiler. So actually we got a 1/2 inch more rear spoiler now than we did before. So I think it helps Busch cars a little bit.
Steve Grissom and David Green, our guests this evening. We're going to come back and wrap it up with a final thought or two. But right now, a look at the folks who make our show possible as Slim Jim and Channel Lock keep those two racing teams in action. Take a look. We're coming right back.
This Week in NASCAR has been brought to you by Kendall Motor Oil, pour in the protection, by the Heartbeat of America Chevrolet and your local Chevy dealer, and by Smooth Busch Beer and easy drinking Busch Light.
there, Grandpa. How's the old truck running?
Never been better. Oh, I brought your graduation present by. Well, it's been in the family a long time.
Kendall Motor Oil. It's good stuff. Thanks, Gramps. I'm not quite sure what to say.
Well, that and this old truck kind of go together. It's yours, as long as you take care of it.
Look for the newest members of the Kendall NASCAR racing team, Kyle Petty and Kenny Wallace.
Everyone talks about how racing technology makes their street cars better. There isn't a car company today that brings more race-winning technology to the street than Chevrolet.
Sure, you've got a car. Got a dog. Even got some fun-loving friends. But have you got what it takes to be a mountain man? All it really takes are the two cool beers of the mountain man. Smooth bush beer and easy drinking Busch Light. So, be a mountain man. All you gotta do is head for the mountains.
The nation's top teams play on prime turf. Bobby Bowden has the Knolls on track with Heisman hopeful Charlie Ward leading the Seminole assault on the national championship. Number 1 FSU in Maryland, live Saturday at noon on Prime.
David Green, a quick question from Phoenix City, Alabama. Hello, Paul.
Hello, how you doing?
Good. Time is short, sir.
Okay, I got a question for Steve and David. Are you married, and how do you cope with the schedule of racing and being with your family at the same time?
Quick answers, guys.
I am married and have a son, but fortunately my wife doesn't work and son's not in school yet, so right now they're able to go to pretty much all the races with us.
Family-wise for you?
I'm single, and Bobby keeps me busy, so I don't have any time for anything
The time
else.
flies right by that way. Fellas, I wish you the very best. The final 2 races this year, everybody's watching with interest, and however the championship comes out, both of you guys are champions in all of our books. We wish you the very, very best for many years.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Steve Grissom, David Green, our guests tonight on This Week in NASCAR. Remember, the Busch Series in action at Hickory this weekend, the Pantry 300. They'll wrap up their season in Atlanta a week from Saturday. The Winston Cup cars idle until the Hooters 500 in Atlanta a week from this coming Saturday. Excuse me, a week from this coming Sunday. Join us next Thursday. We'll be in Atlanta at the Airport Hilton. Cale Yarborough Motorsports with a special announcement. More of your calls. This Week in NASCAR, the name of the show, live on Prime Network. We'll see you next week. So long, everybody.
We'd like to hear from you, so write us at This Week in NASCAR, 1625 Broadway, Suite 550, Denver, Colorado, 80202.